Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sage Live September 2023. Before we start, let us briefly explain what Sage Journey is all about and how Sage Live fits in that journey. Sage Journey is a program whose mission is to inspire and encourage students to explore STEM careers for their future. We do this by offering summer camps, paid internships, and professional growth sessions, and many opportunities to connect with professionals who care about you and your future. Sage Live, what we're having today, is part of the Sage Journey, and it's an online gathering of students who have attended summer camp and are curious about the next steps in their Sage journey. It's also a time to connect with the Sage volunteers that you see in the screen and hopefully will recognize from the camps. It is held monthly and via Zoom between the months of August and May. The topics that we cover are relevant to your journey, whether it is career related, such as designing your live resume workshop or how to prepare for an interview, or new and exciting topics such as quantum computer, artificial intelligence, or machine learning. And we really hope that you guys are leveraging what you learn from these sessions. Today, we will talk about college planning and college applications. That's something that many of you have asked us to deliver. We always want to hear what you think is important for us to tackle. And this was a topic that you brought up. So here we are delivering. Our first speaker is Dulcie Quinn. Dulcie is a freshman honors student at the University of Arizona. She's double majoring in astronomy and clarinet performance. Yay! Dulcie is from Santa Fe, New Mexico, although she was originally from Hong Kong. She attended the 2021 Los Alamos Summer Physics Camp for Young Women and went on to intern at LANL in the summers of 2022 and 2023, working on cold plasma in the magnetosphere. That's fantastic. Although she's studying astronomy, Dulcie hopes to eventually attend law school and practice space law. With that said, Dulcie, you have the stage.
Hi, thank you, Anna. So I'm gonna share my screen for my presentation. Okay, so as Anna mentioned, today's topic is college planning and applications. So I can share a little bit, since I was just in your shoes just last year, I can share a bit about my experience and things that I learned from it that will hopefully be useful to you. So a little bit about me, Anna already mentioned it, but I'm from Santa Fe, New Mexico, although I'm originally from Hong Kong. The schools that I've gone to were Qualified College in Hong Kong, which was my secondary school there. And then I transferred during 2020 to Santa Fe High School, New Mexico. So if any of you have transferred schools during high school, you know that can be a little bit rough. And then now I'm first year at the University of Arizona. And I mentioned I'm majoring in astronomy and clarinet performance. And then my experience with Sage is I was part of the of LANL's student summer physics camp for young women. And then I interned at LANL 2 years in a row in the summers. And also a fun fact about me is that I was actually the first high school student in New Mexico to obtain the bilingual seal for Cantonese specifically. And I technically also got a trilingual seal because I got a bilingual seal for Mandarin. So that's just a cool little tidbit. Okay, so the first question, sometimes people worry like, oh, what if you don't have the best academic grades? Because, you know, when you're going to college, you're thinking, oh, I need to have the best grades to get into the best college. Don't worry about that. Grades like aren't the only thing that they look at. I know for me, like when with my transferred grades, Hong Kong had a very different grading scale than the US. And so when colleges looked at my grades, they saw some funky stuff and that could have looked like bad grades. And so that's really what the essays are for, or the extra sections. Colleges, like on the applications, they have oftentimes they'll have a little box for you to explain extenuating circumstances, but really they want to know like about you and your journey. And if there's a reason that you didn't have the strongest grades, tell them, like, don't try to hide it because they want to know and they want to see how you overcome those obstacles as well. Um, for me, when I explained those like circumstances, that actually allowed me to get like a considerable amount of scholarship money, much more than I was initially awarded by my school. And so that actually helped me being able to explain it. So that's a very important thing. Don't worry, oh, I don't meet this specific cutoff, like for GPA, explain. And they want to see that. Um, Also, what is important when it comes to extracurricular activities? So sometimes, like, and I've seen like some of my friends in high school who are maybe a bit younger than me, they're like, oh, I need to do this extracurricular because that's what colleges are looking for, and that's what it really that looks good on my resume. So I'm just gonna do it, even if I don't care about it. I'm just gonna do it because it looks good. Don't don't do that. I think because you need to pursue what you're passionate about. Um, and not what you think they want to see. Because if you pursue what they think, like what you think they want to see, it shows. Like they can tell that it's like you're just doing it for your resume. If you do something that you're passionate about, like you genuinely care about this thing and you genuinely want to excel in it, you genuinely want to like, if it's like volunteering and you genuinely like to help people, it shows. It's your spike. Like I've heard this term before when I was trying to learn about the college process where it was your spike. I heard that somewhere where someone said, "Oh, colleges want to see your spike." Where yes, be well-rounded and have interests, but have something that's yours and you stand out and that's your thing. And also, if you're a junior, since we had a lot of juniors today, don't be afraid to like start something now. You might think, oh, I'm already halfway done with high school. That's basically I'm too late to start a new hobby. Like oh, I really wanted to play like for example, like oh, if I wanted to play soccer, but oh, I'm a junior. Just go play soccer. Like do it because I picked up clarinet junior year. That's when I started playing. I didn't know how to play clarinet before that. And now I'm majoring in it. So don't be afraid to try new things because you're interested in them. Don't think, oh, it's too late for this. Um, another big worry that a lot of kids have is how difficult it is to apply for scholarships. I can definitely relate. I like my family, we don't have the money for me to go out of state. And so scholarships was a very important part of like my college admission process. I believe that it's like easy to find them. It's hard to actually get around to applying to them and actually remember to do that. That's the difficult part. So most important thing is don't let deadlines pass you by. So the way that I kept track of my deadlines personally was I had my Google Calendar and I like color coded it and whatever. But I would enter like on the day that something's due. So like if something is due October 1st, I put like X scholarship due. And then in the little info box, you put like the link to the application. And you can set reminders to like 1 week before, 2 weeks before. And so that really helped me because then I'd get it like, ping, you have a scholarship due in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, okay, I best get on that. So just remember to keep on top of deadlines. And also a lot of things have like rolling like applications. So sometimes this earlier you submit an application, the more like chance you have getting it. Just apply to every single scholarship you see because you're not going to get them if you don't apply. It's just a fact. So another thing, if you're having trouble finding scholarships, your school might have a like a master scholarship list because a lot of scholarships like they're annual. They do it every year, and so people like counselors will find them from last year and add them to a list. Otherwise, check like community foundations, big local employers. Think of like law schools, law firms, banks, that kind of place, car dealerships. Um, Also listen to the radio because I actually won a scholarship by listening to the radio. It's quite funny. It was like I think it was our town's like local like 80s station maybe, and they were like, "Hey, calling all high school seniors in the local Santa Fe area, like apply to this scholarship through the radio station." And I applied and I got it. So definitely don't pass on like things that you hear like that. Like even if they're small, even if they're like $1,000 $500, like those add up. And that's kind of what allowed me to be able to go out of state, is those little ones stacking, which there you go, you get almost a full ride. So also word of mouth, ask people, ask your teachers, ask if you know like older students, people, just ask everyone, do you know of any scholarships like that? That really helps. Where can you get resources and help? So I mean, it's all great to like tell you all this information, and a lot of times you do get a lot of information, but it's hard to like put that into effect and apply it to like your own process, because everyone's is different. So I really suggest talking to like your teachers and counselors. Even like don't discount your teachers for the application process, because like if you, for example, if you need help with like your essays, ask your English teacher. That's what, like, they'll be happy to help you. And counselors, of course, but also ask your parents. Like, generally, your parents want you to succeed. So, and if your parents have gone to college, then they can help. And even if they haven't, they'll probably want to help you. So, my parents actually helped me a lot. They helped keep me in line. That's what they helped me with. Yeah, most of my help was from teachers, mentors, and my parents. I also, though, I did a lot of research like on what is available to my school district, or like the area that I'm in. One thing that like my school had, for example, was FAFSA nights. So the FAFSA is pretty complicated. But you need to do it. So they had like FAFSA nights where they like would walk kids through the FAFSA with their parents, how to fill it in, how not to mess it up. So check with like your counselors and teachers to see if your school might have similar stuff like that, or maybe like SAT prep, ACT prep. Sometimes schools will have like built-in programs for those specific things. Yeah, and then another thing is how to decide on a degree. That can also apply to like your program or the university in a broader sense, if you're even unsure about that. So I believe that you should really find the balance between like your passion and what will offer you job opportunities. So I think what's important to really do some self-evaluating on whether or not like in 3 or 4 years, when this starts to get really difficult, like will I still want to continue learning this subject and really going deep into it? Because like if you start a degree, like especially a STEM degree, which will be tough, and you don't actually like that specific field, if you're just doing it because you think, oh, this will give me lots of job opportunities, or this will make me lots of money, but you don't like it, you're not going to be able to have that drive once like in 3 or 4 years it starts to get really heavy and like difficult material. You're not going to want to continue to learn that. So make sure that you choose something that you are personally interested in, like because then when it gets hard, you will still want to try. And also, will this degree qualify me for like the type of job or industry that I want? So like if you want to go into science, if you want to do like a researcher position, you're probably going to need like grad degrees and like more education. So think about like, will this undergrad degree, will this qualify me? Will I need to have more? Is that gonna like play into what I should choose? Because those are all different like things that you should think about when you're choosing your degree. And also one thing is the program strong at a specific school? So if you've decided like on your degree and you have a bunch of schools that you're looking at that have that degree, look at which schools have like really strong programs in that specific area. So like for me, I knew that I wanted to do astronomy, and so University of Arizona has a really strong astronomy program. Like it's so strong that it's actually bigger than our physics department. So that's why I wanted to come here, and that's why I decided Arizona, because I knew the degree, and then I thought, oh, is the program strong? Yes. So that's how I chose it. Yeah, so that is all I have today. Does anyone have any questions that I can try to answer?
Thank you so much, Dulce. I think there were some questions in the chat that
Okay.
we tag teamed. Um, answering them. If you have a chance to type your questions in the chat, and Dulcie will try to answer them, and what's not answered we will tackle at the Q&A. A question that I think is pertinent to everyone is about FAFSA, and you guys should check. Loy sent a link about FAFSA information, and we will also talk about FAFSA a little bit more. With that said, thank you so much, Dulcie, you rock. So we would like to introduce our second speaker, Susan Metzler. Susan is a senior admissions advisor with New Mexico State University and has been with NMSU for 5 years, working with applicants from Arizona and California. Prior to her position with NMSU, she was a college and career counselor at a public high school in Phoenix. So you can guess she has a lot of experience on answering the questions that you might have. NMSU is the third university she has worked for since she graduated from college a very long time ago, she says. She's based in Phoenix, so it's very warm and hot down there. And is the proud mom of one recent college graduate, 2 current college students, and one very spoiled cat. Susan, the floor is yours, and I want to remind students, not just if your parents have a college education means they know the American system. I am a college educated, but I went to college in another country. So it was very hard for me to help my kids. I didn't know what FAFSA was or things like that. So leverage these discussions as much as you can to help your parents if your parents don't have that information. Susan, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very, very much. And thanks everyone for being here today. And Dulcie, everything you said, yeah, that's my presentation. No, but what you said was fantastic and very helpful. And you are spot on everything. I am going to share my screen. And I have to just tell you that I have a lot of like words written here. And it's more than anything to remind myself. Because I do presentations like this, and then I end up remembering things later that I didn't mention. Hold on for a second. Let me get the whole thing here. Okay, can you see that?
Do you want to put it in?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it. Of course, I'm having issues here. I've got the. No, I don't want that.
Is it the bottom?
I've got the stuff in the way.
Bottom right, otherwise sometimes.
Is it there now? There it is.
It's coming, I think. Oh, no.
It's typically it's at the bottom right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not there. On my screen, it's showing up.
Oh, okay. Maybe you have
you
2
guys see it?
screens, and one shows the full screen, and the other one. It's all right. We can follow.
We can see it.
Okay. All right. We're just gonna go with it. But my name is Susan Metzler. I am a senior admissions advisor here at New Mexico State University. And as said in my intro, I am actually based in Phoenix, Arizona. And the reason I'm here in Phoenix, where it is very hot, is because I work with students from most of Arizona and all of California. So I spent actually a lot of my time in California this time of year. I just so happen to be home right now. But I do work with students in California. I'm talking about New Mexico State University, why it might be a good option for students in California, how things run a little bit differently in different states than they do in California. So sometimes students have some questions with that. And that is something that I really want everyone to take away from my presentation is every single university, private, public, states, everyone does things a little bit differently. So people will say all colleges want this or schools need this. That's not 100% correct. It's not the same across the board. So what you have to do is advocate for yourself and ask questions. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard in my life, my friend told me that they don't care about this, or I heard you don't need this. Only to find out later that maybe their friend was giving them incorrect information or maybe even old information, because every year certain things change with universities. So that is just something just to be your own advocate, ask questions, people in admissions were very, very nice. We're here to help you. We want to help you. We want to see you succeed. I have so many students that will say, like, I didn't ask because I didn't want to bother you or something like that. That's my job. That's why I'm here. I'm here to answer questions and to help students. So we don't want anyone to miss out on a scholarship, a deadline, an opportunity because they didn't ask questions. I think I saw in questions before where someone said, how do I find out who to contact at a university? Just look at their webpage. They're always going to have a link for admissions. If you can't find who your admissions advisor is for your area on that page, there will be a general email address. You can email that address and say, hey, I live in Tennessee. Who can I contact with questions? And they will refer you to the person. So just ask questions, verify your information. We do try to keep websites updated, regularly. So just make sure you check, but just don't take what someone else says as the rule or the law. Always ask, because like I said, we don't want anyone to miss out on something because they didn't ask the right questions. But when you are looking at schools, there are over 5,000 accredited universities in the country. Everyone has their own journey. Everyone is looking for something maybe a little bit different. Just because your family all went to this school, maybe that's not the right school for you. And it's good to have options. One thing when we are looking at schools, things to keep in mind: cost. How much does it cost? When you look at tuition and fees on a website, sometimes they can be so overwhelming. Maybe the university that you're looking at has fantastic scholarships that you would qualify for, or fantastic financial aid. So do a little research, see what the cost is going to be. Also the location. Some people want to go to school close to home. Some people want to go far away. Maybe the program that you're looking for isn't available in your area, so you do need to go someplace else for it. So also people like different sorts of campuses. Maybe you like an urban campus, maybe you like a rural campus. So really it is something that is individual. Academic programs, I see this a lot. Students that are maybe have a dream school, a school that they love, but their academic program isn't at that school. So, kind of check out to see what programs they have at the schools that you're looking at to make sure it is something that you're interested in, because that is really important. Also, if you can, visit the campus. Sometimes it's hard, especially if you're applying to a lot of different schools or schools that are spread all over the country. Every university has a marketing department. They make brochures, they make our website. They post lots of beautiful pictures of our campuses, which are beautiful. But go and, if you can, visit the campus. Kind of feel the campus vibe. Do you see yourself fitting in there? Do you look around at the students and say, I can see myself sitting here having lunch with the students that are here? Go visit the academic departments that you're interested in. If you're interested in engineering, go visit the College of Engineering. See if you can talk to some students, meet some faculty members, look at the classrooms, look at the facilities. It's really, really important to see where you're going to be spending most of your time and what you're going to be learning. But also opportunities for students.
Susan,
yeah.
We don't see your slides advancing. We're still in the first slide.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm having all kinds of tech issues today.
We are so grateful you're here. So.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing this. I did this big update earlier today.
Yeah. By the way, Zoom kicked me out in the middle of this morning's sessions to update something.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So it happens.
Okay.
Hide presenter's view, and we can stay in. So yeah, just you were toggling through options there.
Okay. I was going through options here.
Yeah. A hide presenter's view.
Screen, black screen, white screen.
No, up.
Uh-huh.
Down, 1, 2. Yeah. See what happens.
What do you see now?
Well, now we see nothing. That's not good.
Now it's thinking.
Oh, darn.
It's a brand new computer too.
Oh, okay.
Computer. Oh.
Now we lost your slides.
Okay. Yeah, I got a thing of Zoom that quit working. Do you see anything now?
No.
Oh, I don't know why.
We
it's
see
doing
you,
this.
but we don't see the
Okay, I'm so
We
sorry.
see
I'm
you,
not,
yeah, but not the slides.
okay. Okay. So I basically have a list of these terms that say like campus vibe. Make sure that you visit the campus. Opportunities for students, that they have student support, career services that are going to help you find a job when you graduate, workshops on financial aid, how it works, how to handle it, to make sure that you don't get into trouble. Just basically opportunities and support for students. Very, very important. Especially if a student maybe is a first-generation college student. A lot of these things that maybe they're not learning at home or learning while they're still in high school, they go to college. There are a lot of terms that people use, a lot of things that people, in classes that come up, or tasks that they have to complete that they're really not familiar with. So, make sure that your university has a lot of student support. So then basically what you can't see on my screen is I just had some basic common terminology that we use in the admission process. Application fee waivers. When you apply to schools, you have to pay an application fee. It can really add up, but a lot of schools will offer free applications. Oftentimes you have to ask for it. That's where it's really good to have a connection with your admissions advisor. So you can actually send them an email and say, do you have an application fee waiver or code that I can use? Are they always going to provide you one? No, but 50% of the time they are going to be able to help you with that application fee and waive that fee. Another thing that I hear people ask questions about are terms on applications like early action, early decision, rolling admissions. Rolling admissions is we're accepting applications all the time. From the time our application opens till the time it closes, we're accepting applications. We don't really have an application deadline. Usually with the rolling admissions, you're getting an answer back within anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks. But then there's also early action and early decision. Gets a little more confusing, but early decision is when you apply to a school and you hear back very early. Early action is binding. If you apply to a school early action and you're admitted, you are basically committing to go to that school and you have to withdraw any other application that you have at any other school. But also another question we get are with test scores. Some schools are test blind. In California, their state universities are currently test blind, where they don't accept SAT or ACT scores. There's no place even on the application to add those. Test optional is if you have test scores, you can send them in, but if you don't, that's okay too. So a lot of schools are now going test optional. Another question you should ask when you're applying to schools is GPA. What is the university or college looking at? Are they looking at a cumulative GPA? Are they looking at a weighted or unweighted GPA? Are they looking at only specific classes or years on your GPA? At New Mexico State University, we take a cumulative weighted GPA, but a lot of students, especially my students in Arizona, will send their unweighted GPA because in Arizona, they use an unweighted GPA. So that is something to ask about too. Dulce kind of commented on this. You talked about extracurriculars. They are important. Don't do something just because you think it's going to look good on an application or a resume, because it really doesn't. If you're really not into it or you're really not caring about it, that we're going to see that. Also too, it's okay to try things. Sometimes a student will say, yeah, I tried cross country for a year and I didn't like it, so I tried something else. That is fine too. Sometimes students also have responsibilities where they can't join a lot of clubs. They can't have those extracurriculars. I worked with a student at a high school who basically had to work 30 hours a week to help support her family. She was filling out applications and she was very concerned because she did not have the high school extracurriculars, but she had a 30-hour-a-week job, which is an incredible extracurricular. So we put that down as her extracurricular, and she wrote a little essay about how she had to work to help support her family. She ended up getting a fabulous scholarship. Merit scholarships, Those are something that are usually automatic based on your admissions application. You usually do not have to fill out additional paperwork for those. It's basically when a school processes your application, they award a merit scholarship. But a lot of schools will also stack scholarships. So if you get private scholarships, additional scholarships, they will stack that on top of the merit scholarship. The FAFSA, just so you guys know, or if you are a senior, they changed it. It's going to be a little bit different this year. We haven't really seen what exactly it's going to be like, but it's not usually opens on October 1st. This year, it's not going to open until December, they say. So, you know, we'll see what happens when it actually opens and what it's like. But supposedly they're trying to make it easier for students. I have, for students who are juniors, especially, but also seniors, a great way to start really making that college list is going to a college fair. There are a lot of college fairs that happen all over the place. And if you can go to a college fair, learn about different colleges, connect with admissions advisors, it's just a really great way to get information and make that nice list of schools that you might be interested in. So what I'm going to do is, I'm so sorry about my presentation. I do have some things to put in the chat. I did make a list with links with some information on college fairs, some information on writing essays, some different organizations like the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program that can actually help save with money with out-of-state tuition. But I am going to post all of that in the chat for you. And if you do have any questions, you can put those in the chat too.
Thank you so much, Susan. And what we can do is also figure it out, and we can kind of show those slides at the very end, maybe. Sometimes when you have two monitors, sharing one monitor and not the other, I don't know if you have to, but so Paige was asking, does that mean that you have to apply to college and then to apply to financial aid?
Well, how it works is the FAFSA, you know, people will say things like the FAFSA is giving me this much money. Well, the FAFSA doesn't give you anything. The FAFSA is like a calculator. It's through the federal government, free application for federal student aid. It basically takes like your family's financial tax information, and basically comes up with a number. It's called the estimated family contribution. It's what it thinks your family can pay for college. This number is then given to colleges and universities. When you fill out the FAFSA, you have space to put in schools that you want this to go to. So say you know you're applying to 8 schools. You will put those schools on the FAFSA. After the calculation is done, that information will go to the different schools. The financial aid people at the schools will take that number and decide what sort of aid you're going to get based on this number. So people will say, the FAFSA is giving me $5,000. I'm like, no, the FAFSA is not giving you anything. It's a calculator. Make sure that any school that you're applying to, you do list that on the FAFSA, even if you haven't applied yet, but make sure that you do that. We had a student at New Mexico State last year from California who didn't understand why she wasn't getting any financial aid when she was getting it from other schools. And then we figured out that she completed the FAFSA when it opened, the day it opened, and she had not applied to New Mexico State. She didn't add New Mexico State. Luckily, she was able to go back into her FAFSA account and add New Mexico State. We got her information, we got her financial aid, but we had never received her FAFSA. And she assumed that in her mind, like, she did the FAFSA, why don't we have that information? It's because she didn't put us on the list. So make sure any school you're even thinking of applying to, it doesn't hurt to add them to that list. You know, students apply to schools, submit the FAFSA, they get a financial aid letter, which basically says this is what you qualify for. It's kind of a green document, you know, things can be added to it later. But you know, sometimes people are pleasantly surprised. They apply to a school, they're like, I'll just apply to the school, and they get a fantastic financial aid package, and it makes it very doable. So that is something just to keep in mind when the FAFSA does open. You can list any school that you might be interested in.
Fantastic. And I really like the advice you gave, Susan, to and also Dulce said, leverage your parents as well.
Yeah.
I had this struggle with one of my kids that rather than talking to the admission officials, he would prefer to hear what his friends were saying.
Right.
Get information from the right place. Your friends are great support, but they might not have the right information.
And they might not like the school. And I actually was talking to a student who didn't like UCLA, was telling, oh, UCLA is bad. We all know UCLA is not bad. And it had something to do with like his roommate. His roommate was loud. So in his mind, he wasn't happy at UCLA because he didn't like his roommate. So he's telling people, oh, UCLA is a bad school. And you have to know that there's somebody who's hearing that going, oh, UCLA is a bad school, without finding out why this particular young man wasn't liking UCLA. And it really boiled down to a roommate conflict. This really had nothing to do with the school, it was a personal conflict.
Yeah.
So take all that stuff with a grain of salt and do your own research.
Yeah. Trust but verify, I say in my household, but it didn't work for the first kid. So thank you so much, Susan. We are ahead of time, and that will give us plenty of time for Q&A when everybody has spoken. If you guys have a chance, check on the chat. Dulce has been very busy answering questions about space law and good strategies for applying to colleges and so on. And Susan will copy some of the links of information that she had in her slides, and hopefully we will also add the slides at the very end so you can also see them. Our next speaker, and it's our third speaker, is Vinnie Gupta. Vinnie is the president and co-founder of Upward Path Institute. He is headquartered in Palo Alto, California. The mission of this institute is to prepare students for standing out in college admissions and careers. Currently, 1,300 students from across the nation, not just California, across the nation, are enrolled in Upward Path Institute. Vinnie is considered a thought leader in college admissions and parenting. He has been featured in national media and is a frequent guest on media stations nationally. I hope you guys value the caliber of the speakers we bring to you to give you a heads up in your path. With that said, Vinnie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Anna, for that very kind introduction. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be with, and Loy, thank you for inviting me. So these students here, I'm just amazed at the quality of questions and the engagement, and for folks like Dulce to provide the level of insight that she did. That is, it always just warms my heart in terms of, hey, I might be getting older, but our future is in good hands. And I mean that with all sincerity. So thank you, Dulce, for that excellent presentation and insights. So what I wanted to do is, I just wanted to start with some high-level thoughts for everyone here. And then I believe that your host today, they have a robust Q&A planned, which I'm really looking forward to and learning from my fellow speakers today. So let me bring up my slide deck. I promise it's not going to be death by PowerPoint. That's not me. So I've got just a handful of slides, and then we'll jump on to questions. Okay, so we talked about just a little bit about myself. So Upward Path Institute is an organization that I co-founded about 8 years back. And the motivation that I had was that my wife and I, we immigrated from India about 30 years back. We were highly educated, but like one of you said, I think it was Anna, that parents sometimes don't know the system here. High school, college admissions, colleges, career options. So I realized that we were not able to do justice to our older child in terms of guiding her through this process, and that's why I started this institute. So this is just a high level, and that's my only slide about Upward Path Institute, upwardpath.com. So we have a comprehensive program where, in addition to helping students in 12th grade with the entire application and essay process, college list, the more exciting part of our program is working with students in grade 8 till 11 to develop what I'm going to talk about in a second, a unique student. Somebody that in grade 12, before applications start, can actually say, I am Dulce, this is why I'm unique. So what messages do I want to leave for you guys today? Let's start with the highest level. I understand from the team that coached me on today's session that the students come from different backgrounds, from California, from New Mexico, different academic backgrounds, different economic backgrounds. So I factored all that in terms of thinking, what messages do I want to leave behind for you guys? First and foremost, don't stress. There are more than 3,000 four-year colleges in this country, as Susan, I think, was alluding to some of those. And sorry about that, wrong slide. And in addition to community colleges, if you add community colleges, which offer transfer programs to four-year colleges, there are more than 4,000 colleges in the country. So one thing I can comfortably promise to you, if you do your high school journey to the best of your ability, you will get into a college. Then it's just a question of which college and rankings and those kind of things. But I don't want any of you guys to lose sleep and say that, oh my gosh, will I ever get into a college? That's not going to happen. Not in this country. This country does offer the best higher education system in the whole world, and I really believe that. Secondly, Anna, I think Anna was it who was asking about funding. So what I have on the screen is possibly something that is surprising some of you. Or some of you might be saying, Mr. Gupta, yeah, right. You can say whatever you feel like, but I don't buy any of it. I actually think this is true. So if you are coming from an affluent family, then obviously this funding question doesn't apply. How do I afford college? But if you're coming from a family that's financially not the most privileged, there's actually enough funding available here, especially if you're thinking of the top 30 ranked colleges in the country, especially the private ones, think Ivy Leagues. Students from low-income families, generally, they can get a full ride into these colleges. The challenge happens in the middle tier of colleges that may not have the funding available to give students a free ride. So here is some data that will give credibility to my statement. For those of you in California, like Ishani here, who, by the way, I just connected with her, she's part of our program, University of California, which is probably the best known public university system in the country, 2/3 or so, or even more of the students actually pay zero tuition. Last I checked, the number was close to 70%. So as you guys are thinking about especially your state colleges and universities, most of them will have robust funding systems. So I don't want you guys to suppress your dreams just because of funding. You just have to do the research. So universities provide funding. Like I said, the highest ranked colleges in this country, they generally have the most endowment to fund all this. Places like University of California, they have government funded programs for this. Some of them even have programs to pay for your room and board. And then you can always take loans. So we can go into this a little later, but the highest level message is don't suppress your dreams by simply making wrong assumptions that I cannot afford college. Okay, now, what's the last point I want to make here? And then the last point is the one that I'm going to spend a little bit more time on. Let me do a quick time check. So there are colleges of all kinds, as I mentioned. There are community colleges that say no to, that just don't say no to anyone. Then there are colleges all the way from your public university in your state, whichever state you are in California, for example, that would be a California State University or a University of California. They are both public universities, but very different in how they admit students. And then on the extreme side, you've got colleges like the Ivy Leagues or similar colleges like Stanford, University of Chicago, MIT. Their approaches are very, very different. So don't put everything into the same bucket. Again, community colleges don't say no to anyone. And most states will have colleges or universities where simply your academic credentials may be enough to get you admitted. Okay, any questions so far before I go into talking a little bit about how to prepare for some of these more difficult colleges?
Let's see, I don't see specific questions on the chat, but I have a question that is, I heard, again, thank you, Vinnie, for what you brought up. I was pretty much lost with my first kid. But this option of community college and then other colleges is often a good option to stay home, to stay close to home for a year or two, take some burden from the cost of the final college. But I heard secondhand, third hand, God knows, that then you lose your financial aid. Are there ways to get to ask for financial aid later on when you are already in community college? Like you do 2 years of community college and then you want to go to UC, right? So how does the financial aid kind of propagates or applies?
I would, Susan, do you have because you are so close to this, would you like to start with your perspective and then I can add to it?
Yeah, a lot of schools have transfer scholarships. They're usually not as generous as a scholarship that a first-year student coming out of high school might get. And but I guess the thought is they've gone to community college for 2 years, so they've saved some money there. But a lot of schools do offer transfer scholarships. Also, too, the private scholarships, you can still, people think when they're in high school, they're filling out these private scholarship applications. They think as soon as they start school, that kind of stops. No, while you're still an active university student, keep checking out and applying for those scholarships. But also the FAFSA, the federal student aid, transfer students, of course, still qualify for that. So it's not like they completely go away. You might just have to work a little bit harder to find those scholarships.
Thank you. Here's a question from Reedy. Does the DOE provide undergrads involved in their programs with scholarships? Let's see. I don't know of undergrads. I know that at least at Los Alamos, very specific paths like engineering, DOE provides a path for a PhD, but can someone else working in a DOE lab throw me a bone, Scott or Jen?
I think obviously there's so many different programs. I think it kind of depends program by program. I think in general I would say likely not, but there may be exceptions to that.
Mm-hmm. Jen, I don't know if you are there.
Yeah, I am not aware of any scholarship programs. I know there are internship programs through the DOE for high school and college students. And I know there are graduate fellowships that will fund, they may start in undergraduate, but I'm not positive about that. But yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know in detail about any of them.
Thank you. Vinnie.
Yeah, okay, thank you. All right. So, guys, so now let's go into, so remember I said that different colleges, the different types of colleges, there are about 3,000 of those. So now let's talk about, if you're a high school student, how do you prepare for colleges? So what I'm going to give you at a very high level today is the framework to think about becoming the most competitive you can, because I believe that if you take this approach, that even though you may not want to go to some of these highest or the most competitive colleges, you would still have prepared a very good foundation. So let's start with, what is your reality as you guys think about some of these most competitive colleges? What I have on the screen are colleges ranked among the top 20 in the country. Every year, unfortunately, the competition keeps going up, and hence your chances of getting in are decreasing. It's just the reality. I'm not saying this to scare you, but to give you a reality check. So for those of you that want to compete at this level, you are going with eyes wide open and you're ready for the challenge, which I hope you will. Now, here is a big problem, which a lot of students, schools, parents are not aware of, because this requires a mindset switch. As you think about some of these most competitive colleges, the first and foremost thing to understand is that you need to do academically the best you can, but that in general is not going to be enough to make you stand out. For most of these colleges, the GPA, weighted GPA, is going to be in the range of 4.2, 4.3 or higher. So you need to do your best, but don't rest on GPA. Over the last 10 years, I noticed that in response to how these competitive colleges are changing, a lot of students and parents are saying activities are important, and absolutely they are. But again, for these kind of colleges, that's not going to be enough. So what you must do, strong GPA, like the previous people, Dulce and Susan talked about, your activities have to be strategic in nature and deeply linking to your personal values, not just doing activities for the sake of it or activities that pad up your college resume, but that link really to, I am Dulce, these are my strengths, these are my interests, this is what I believe in, this is what I like doing, and then choose activities, because that's when you would be able to answer college essay questions like, what do you want to study here and why? What have you done over the past few years to further your interest in that area? Most of this comes from you knowing yourself and choosing things that are close to who you are as a person and your interest. What's the third problem? Unfortunately, actually, fortunately for some, depending upon whether you like the SATs or not, but for a lot of colleges, SAT and ACT are not as relevant anymore, but keep in mind that is always changing. So most of you that want to apply to these competitive colleges, you will need to take the SAT or the ACT, accepting that unlike 3 to 4 years back, you don't have to spend all your energy there. So what do I want to do now is to give you a high-level framework for how do you approach college admissions. What you see on the screen are two circles. On the left is how do you become competitive for college admissions? And then on the right-hand side is what do you need to do in 12th grade to showcase, to build your branding, to showcase everything you've done over 17 years to college applications or admissions officers like Susan. So let me start with the right circle, the circle on the right-hand side. This is where you're building a college list. This is where you're figuring out what are the things you can do, little things that you can do for top 30 colleges, like recommendation letters, demonstrated interest, figuring out how to showcase your uniqueness. This goes into college essays, etc. And then things like interviews. That's in 12th grade. Don't confuse all this with what you do in early grades. So in the early grades, what do you do? It's a very simple thing. Today, after this session is done, sit down with a piece of paper or even look into your mobile phone, speak into it, and see whether you can simply answer a question. I am Ishani. Why do I think I'm unique? And tell yourself that your grade, you cannot include your academic credentials in that answer. Can you say something along the lines of something that talks to you as a person? So since I don't have too much time, just to give you a high level, there are 5 factors on which you could potentially become unique. Yes, academics, but it's very hard to become unique in that area given the competition, but you still do your best. You can choose unique activities, and the best unique activities come from you. In terms of figuring out, how can I make a difference? And once you start doing activities in that area, that's when you prepare the best credentials in terms of activities. On the top here, the light green is, unfortunately, remember I talked about that problem in college admissions preparation? Students stop at GPA and activities. Those are the top 2 things here. Those pertain to what you've done. Now, if you really want to compete for these topmost colleges, you need to work on the bottom 3, which is who you are. Once you get this whole thing about what have I done and who you are, if you hit all these 5, then you're going to become a winner in life as well, or careers. But if you focus on just those 2, it is going to be limiting. So just at a high level, what do these buckets mean? Conviction and chosen career. I think Dulcie talked about that very well. Choose whatever career, as long as in 12th grade applications, you can answer a very simple question. I am Dulcie. This is what I want, or this is the career that I want to pursue. But very importantly, can you answer that question? Why do I, as a unique person, why do I want to pursue this career? That answer cannot be about engineering or any other STEM careers, about using engineering, I can change the world, or I can stop floods, or I can build environmental friendly buildings. That's about what that career is. Can you relate it to why do you want to do this? Once you do that, it becomes beautiful, because from there, naturally you'll say, okay, so what activities do I need to pursue? What electives do I need to take? It's a very important question. And actually, as part of our program, we have a big focus on helping students figure out right fit career. Critical skills, believe it or not, the most competitive colleges in the country, they are actually looking for what is called your personal qualities. Parents, if you are there listening to me today, almost conceptually, it is similar now to what soft skills employers look in their employees. These competitive colleges are looking for the similar personal qualities. Examples, collaboration and teamwork. Time management, communication and professionalism. One of the biggest ones, curiosity. Are you studying for the sake of grades, or are you studying or because you really want to learn? It's a big part of our program, and I really recommend that students and parents start looking at this element. And then lastly, but probably very importantly, self-awareness and expression. I am Dulcie. How well do I know myself, my strengths, my interest? What made me who I am? Did I face any adversities in my life that influenced me? What gets me excited? What dampens my motivation? How do I want to see the world to be? Figure out what your story is and figure out how to tell the story to the world. This ultimately goes into college essays, but also if you go beyond into real life, when you will be working on applying for a job, etc. Ask your parents. Probably the first interview question is what? Tell me about yourself. People that succeed in these competitive college admissions and in careers in real life, they're very good at knowing their stories and telling those stories with a deep sense of conviction and pride. You are the biggest ambassador of your own brand name. So figure out your branding and tell that story. And if you do this unique student stuff on the left, the stuff on the right, the actual college applications process, I promise you, will become a walk in the park. Anna, back to you.
Thank you so much, Vinnie. I typed something in the chat. Is be authentic. I think that's what I heard from Vinnie and what I heard from Susan, right? Don't take stereotypes that to write an essay, you need to, say what A, B, or C. Be yourself in those essays. And it takes your soul, to pull your soul out to do that. But that, I think, is what admissions advisors are looking for. So let's see. Thank you so much, Vinnie and Susan and Dulcie. We have time for Q&A, which is fantastic. And students, if you type a question and it was not answered online on the chat, please type it again. Do us a favor. Otherwise, I know that some of you already shared some questions. So until I see questions in the chat, I'm going to ask some of the questions that you guys asked. So one question, and speakers, please unmute yourself and find a way to answer if you feel you can answer the questions. Is student ask, I don't know what to major in. I don't know what to prioritize in my college search. Can we give them some advice on that?
Okay, I can go. Susan, do you want to go first, or Dulcie, or?
You can go first. I have some thoughts, but definitely go first.
So first and foremost, I want to start with something because we're also trying to be very honest here, right? This pertains to your life. It pertains to your 4 years of beautiful college journey and then careers. I personally believe that 85 to 90% students are not approaching choosing their college major properly. And that's a problem because it sets you back. Now, you can also always push back and say, Mr. Gupta, for you to make that statement doesn't factor in that I'm only 16 years old. I have to figure out life. I see all that, but I still think that we need to do a better job of choosing our majors. What are the problems? Look at UCLA, for example, where my daughter went. She's a Bruin. 85% of UCLA is a college ranked in the top 20%. 85% students change their majors at least once. 85%. 50% students change their majors at least twice. My daughter changed majors 5 times.
Gee.
Now, this is UCLA, right? Which is highly competitive. This is happening there. Now, across the country, if you look at data from someone like NACE, which is the National Association of Colleges and Employers, they say that the overall percentage of students changing their majors is actually not very different than UCLA. What does that mean? We are not, our schools, our families are not doing a good job on helping our children, our students, by giving them the tools to choose their careers and majors properly is a problem. There's a bigger problem, yet again, which goes into real life and careers, especially in a world where artificial intelligence is going to disrupt our career market. 75% of college students, once they enter the job market, 75% actually change their careers to something that they did not study in college. 75%. This whole thing is broken, right? So how do you select majors? I think obviously your major and career don't have to be completely interlinked. It'll help if they are. So I think that the real question is that how do you choose your career? So in our program, for example, we take a very methodical approach. The first question is you need to start with self-awareness. Simple, there are 3 questions that you can think about. First question is, what am I really interested in? What am I really interested in? And I can give you tools to think about that question, but I like Susan and Dulcie to also chime in. I don't want to take all the time. Secondly, what are my strengths? What am I really good at? What are my real talents? But very importantly, what am I not good at? The third question, which I think really applies to millennials, all you guys, or Gen Z, or whatever the term is, do I have personal values that are non-negotiable to me that will impact what I want to do in my career? For people at my age, late 50s and stuff, growing up, I didn't have an option to factor my values in a career. I was happy to take whatever paid the bills. You guys live in a different society and a different country, right? My son, recently, he's 26, he left a job for a 30% pay reduction because he wanted to do something that aligns with his personal values of compassion to animals. Those are the 3 questions: interest, strengths. Do I have personal values that are non-negotiable to me? Now, once you have that data, then you say, okay, now what are my options? And there are career databases to do that. You can actually go in, feed all this. It'll give you a list of careers. Learn about those careers. Figure out then from your family network, from what Anna and Loy and these people are providing, these kind of communities, figure out, do you have an opportunity to shadow people to learn about those careers? From there, similar databases would say, for this career, what are your college majors? Like as part of our program, we provide this software. So again, 3 sequence, very simple. But the biggest one is, who am I? My strength, interest, my personal values, and do they play any role? I am Elon Musk. I want to be the most powerful person in the world. It doesn't matter how many bodies I'm running on. Nothing wrong with it. It's Elon Musk, right? Or I'm Mahatma Gandhi, right? You slap me on my face, I'll turn the other cheek. These are personal values. Which are you? Only you know that answer.
Thank you, Vinnie. Jesus, that's going to make us think for a while. Susan.
No, what I was going to say is kind of what Vinnie said is that most people do change their major. It's usually not drastic. You're not going from a dance major to mechanical engineering, but most students, I think there are degrees out there, programs out there that they really don't know exist because they have not been exposed to it before. It's amazing. I go to so many college fairs, not every, but so many students. What do you want to study? They want to be a crime scene investigator, a doctor, or a lawyer, because they're seeing this, in media and on TV shows, because they really don't know what is out there. There's a saying that you start with what you eventually want to do and work your way backwards. Instead of saying, I'm going to major in this, what kind of jobs can I get with this degree in psychology? It's where do you see yourself in 20 years and work backwards. A very wise woman once said to me, we were talking about picking majors, and she had changed her major many, many times. And she said one of her faculty members in college said, let your major select you. And she was like, what does that mean? He's like, what classes do you love? When you're looking at the classes available, what class do you say, even though it's 8 o'clock in the morning, I want to take this class? What classes and what subject, when you get your textbooks, do you start kind of reading ahead? You know, you start looking at what you're going to be learning and you get excited by that. That is why she is a AP English teacher and teaches at the community college, is because she learned that literature was her passion. Not everyone knows what their passion is. You know, I'm old. I don't know what my passion is. You know, I think we put a lot of pressure on high school students to know exactly who they want to be in 20 years. And, you know, that we're not always true to them and who they are when, you know, they're still kind of learning and figuring out, but also learning what opportunities are out there. So, you know, you do see parents too sometimes who maybe kind of encourage a student to go into a field because of job security and financial stability, which is apparent. That is something that we do want for our children, when maybe that is not who their child is. I see it often, and you know, there's kind of has to be a happy medium somewhere where you can be, you know, have a successful career and enjoy and be good at what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Susan. Dulcie, I don't know if you want to pitch in, or we should move to the next question.
I can just mention quickly, like, I might be a little bit like not the best to answer it because I've been so sure of my major for so long. I have been the one student who's been like, I know I want this, and I have like blinders on. But
when I first heard about the space lawyer, I was like, what?
Yeah, so I mean, I did the thing where I worked backwards. I knew exactly, I know I want to be a space lawyer. I know I want to work either in a government sector under their law firm, like that, or private space agency like SpaceX or NASA. That's like the two options that I have set for myself. Like, that's it. And so I've worked backwards. Okay, I have to go to law school. Undergrad, I can do whatever I want for law school. You don't have to do political science. I thought, oh, well, I want to do space. I like science, astronomy. So that's how I chose it personally. I know that lots of kids won't be able to do that. And so Vinnie and Susan's advice will be much, I think, more useful than mine.
Thank you so much, Dulce. I also encouraged in our camp students, I think it's very important to use the high school time to explore. You cannot wish to be what you don't know about. And that's exactly what Susan said. Very often students see jobs in the TV, like forensics and whatever, right? You know, take as many as many random classes on random fields, maybe, to figure out if that's the way you want to go, right? You want to be a car mechanic. Well, take that car mechanic class in high school and see if that's really what you want to be. Don't wait until the last, until senior year when they're going to put your back against the wall. So Reedy said that she thinks that the internships can also help. Absolutely. She's always been interested in biology and the sciences, but she took the time to shadow at corporate offices and rule out the option for sure. So absolutely. So the thing is, Sage-wise, for example, at Los Alamos, you can be an intern in your in the summer of your 11th grade. In other national labs, you can only be an intern after 12th grade, but use internships, work with local businesses or whatever, to see if that's what you like, that's what you like to do and what you see yourself doing in the future. There's a question, there were several questions related to moving away from home, missing the pets, what about the roommates and things like that, the rooming environment someone mentioned. Would we like to pitch in on that? It's very stressful for some students that thought that they have to leave home, go somewhere, and what if they miss home?
I think I can definitely answer that, especially since that's like what I'm going through right now. I definitely miss my dog and I won't be able to see him until December. So that's like, but I think it's really important that you stay in touch and like online and you call your parents. Also for like roommates, the situation, I think the most important thing is communication. Don't, like, if something bugs you, don't be afraid to like tell them. Like, you're not hurting their feelings. Like, if you're cold and the thermostat is set to like 65, tell them that you're cold so that you can turn it up. Like, I had to do that because I was freezing. And just don't be afraid to, like, I guess, be like assertive about, because this is your living space as well as theirs, and you have to come to an agreement, and that can be kind of hard, especially if they're new people. So there's that. And in terms of like missing pets and parents, definitely just call your parents. Like, texting them, it's great, but call them. It makes a difference for them and for you as well.
I tried to set with my son. I told him, once a week we need to FaceTime, right? But he's too busy. But I think it's important. I think it's important for me. I don't know who's more important, but I know he also misses home. But I want to keep track, make sure someone keeps you. You're not alone. That's basically what I'm trying to say. We care from far away. Dulce, another question. Someone said they are worried about how to handle their discipline when they don't have the parents hovering around.
Yeah. So my parents are actually quite strict. So they still kind of keep me in check, even online. It's quite impressive. But I think like week 2, you get like a awakening, like, oh, like I have to keep myself in check, and if I don't turn in this assignment, I'm gonna get a 0. And if I get a 0, I'm gonna lose my scholarship. And if I lose my scholarship, that's it. So you kind of, for me at least, it's like I chose to be here. I chose to work to come to college. You don't have to go to college. That's not like high school, you're forced to be there. But college, you're there because you want to be. So I think it's really like, once you realize that, like, no one's forcing you to be here, I think that really helps of like your own self discipline.
Thank you, Dulce. Susan, would you like to add to that, or should we move to the next question?
Yeah, no, just real quickly with the discipline, I think that is something that, especially that first semester, a lot of students kind of have bumps in the road, and parents have to realize that might be coming. There's this new independence. There's some learning about themselves and what they can do and what they can do. I did see that with one of my kids. That first semester was not her best semester. But then she kind of figured it out, which was good because, she had to. So, and she did. So it worked out really, really well. But yeah, I just think it's kind of what Dulce said, is like scholarships. You could lose your scholarship. You could have to, be in school longer because you have to retake some classes. So, it's real. When you start school, it all becomes real, and you have to keep yourself, in check. Your parents aren't necessarily going to sweep in and help you or remind you or wake you up in the morning. They're not going to call you every morning at 6:30 and say, "Are you up?" So you really just have to learn to take care of yourself and get it done.
But it's not the end of the world. That's another thing that is important. It's not all or nothing.
No.
We all have bumps on the road. If you talk to people, you will hear stories. Very few people have straight paths. Some, yeah, right. So just, you are fine. You are okay. Just we need to make sure these, and our heart is in the right place. And if you see things getting out of control, seek for help. You're not alone. Priscilla was asking, could the fun hobby that you're really into count as an extracurricular that you can put in your college applications? Susan?
I mean, extracurricular, I mean, look at the word. It's like outside of academics. What are you doing? What are you doing outside of the classroom? So, so a lot of times schools don't, maybe you have an interesting hobby. Maybe you're into juggling. That they don't have that as a club at your school, but you compete and juggle. That is an extracurricular. It's something you are doing outside of the classroom. Like I mentioned before, the young lady that worked 30 hours a week at Wendy's, that was her extracurricular, she had to do it. So, I mean, we're all, I mean, in admissions too, we're all human. We all, we're high school students at one time, college students at one time. We're not perfect. So, we don't expect everyone to excel at every single activity or club that they do. We all have our different interests. We all have our different hobbies. We all have our different life, our family situation. So basically anything that you're really doing outside of the classroom really is an extracurricular.
Fantastic. We have 4 minutes, right, Danny? Yeah.
Correct.
So that's one more question. And if your questions were not answered in the chat, just reach out and we will put you in touch with the speakers. But that's a very classic question. How do we explain lower than expected grades? How do we explain in our admissions less than perfect, or in our mind, less than perfect path? Vinnie, do you want to pitch in?
Yeah. So let's start with the framework. That's what I'm actually trying to give these students is because we're not today working with you on a personal basis, just a big picture thinking. So first of all, like I said, there is a college for everyone, depending upon where you are on the academics, right? You could be 2.8 or you could be 4.3 weighted. There is a college for you. So that's the starting point now. So the question that you're asking, that how do I explain, then the question becomes, how do I explain to that particular college, right? Because your answer is not going to be the same for everyone. So the question then would be that there could be some where what you should do is you should check the average freshman GPA for that college. And if your GPA is actually so far disconnected, probably don't apply there. It's a waste of your time, right? But if you're in the ballpark and you had a couple of semesters where you had a blip of some kind, then you try to explain that for whatever reasons, or sometimes it could be just being authentic, as long as since then your graph is coming back up. Right? Now, if your graph is going down and is staying that way, then you need to talk to yourself and figure out where is the issue.
Thank you, Vinnie. Let's see. Yes, Vinnie, you mentioned that you needed 4.2, 4.4 GPA, and I thought that scared some of us. And I think that depends on the school, right?
Sorry, Anna, one more time.
You mentioned earlier that you needed a 4.2, 4.4 GPA, and I think that's very school dependent.
Yeah, what I said is that there's a college for everyone, but if you're looking at the most competitive colleges in the country, then that's the GPA range. So if you want to compete at that level, then your GPA is not going to be enough. But there is a college for 2.3 GPA also, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Let's thank our speakers today. It's nearly 1 in New Mexico. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Dulce. I know that is your day off, and here we are tying you down. Thank you, Susan. You've been very busy traveling around, talking to all these students from California and Arizona. We will have Susan's slides, maybe as a comment in the YouTube channel, right, Daniela? We will add them so you have those references. What I heard is, and thank you, Vinnie. You were very deep. I mean, I have to think very closely on every sentence you say is so important and profound, right? And I hope our students value the caliber of the people that we bring. What I heard is, be authentic. Whatever you choose, you might end up doing it for a long time. And those of us who are passionate with what we do every day, and you see the volunteers, the SAGE volunteers, we don't care if it's Saturday because we think it's the right thing to do, and we come here with a smile. So that's what we want you to do, to find your passion, be authentic with your passion, and move forward. So with that said, I think Daniela is going to show us how you can stay in touch with us and keep track of the SAGE adventures, and you can follow us in social media. We hope to be with you in a month, in a month on a Saturday. And is the next one paid internships? Danny, I think.
Correct.
That's
Anna.
right. Oh, you
October
have it.
14th. Yes.
Yes. So look at these opportunities to, you want to try to do, you're thinking about being something or going to school for something. Hey, try to get an internship in that field. And that's what we are here to help you with. And with that said, I think we're going to let you all go. I hope you had a good time. Give us feedback. And if you have more questions, write back to us. And we will try to help you out. Loy, are you raising your hand?
No,
you
she's
say
great.
hi.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.